I hope you understand, which I opened with in day one, the reason why we're spending time on this is because for the first time in a long time, this is going to be the difference maker for you versus your competition. Because I can tell you, your competition who's not here, they're not getting this message. Or well, let me restate that. They are getting the message of, hey, it's time to get serious. It's time to, be a little bit more gritty and work a little harder and put in some extra time and make some extra contacts. That's what they're doing or being told. And I don't know if they're necessarily doing it or not. The difference between this group and your competition, you're walking out of here by the end of tomorrow, and of course our masterminds on Thursday, which are all about implementation, with a plan that you can go back and execute. And so if you wouldn't mind, especially for, where are my high C's in the room? High C's, high analyticals, where are you at? Real high, real high. I know it's going to take a minute because you're probably still calculating. I'll give you a second. You're thinking about it, debating maybe, I don't know. My high C's in the room. You guys are going to geek out on these next two parts, all right? My high I's, where you at? High I's. Just hang in there with me for a little bit, will you please? We'll get back to the fun and the music and Ed My Lad and all this other fun stuff in a moment, all right? So we're on part one, and I want to walk you through the business plan in a way that's a little different than what you've experienced before if you've been on the business planning webinars. And that's because we're actually going to go through the plan with the intention of you're not necessarily going to fill out every single category now, but I want you to actually make notes on this plan all over it. And the reason why I'm okay with you writing on the plan is because we are going to send you a PDF copy of this plan so that way you can take what you have your workbook notes on and transfer it to a clean copy. So for those in the back listening, if you can make sure all of our attendees get a PDF copy of this, I would greatly appreciate that because I want you to take notes on here. If you would prefer, because some of you might say, well, Jeff, I was kind of planning on this being my business plan for the rest of the year. If you'd prefer to just kind of flip back and forth and make notes on the blank lines and go back, by all means, feel free to do so. But we will send you a clean copy of this plan. So if you're wondering, well, I don't want to write all over it, if this is going to be my plan, we're going to send you a PDF copy so you can add whatever you'd like. So do me a favor, we're looking at part one of the business plan. First 6 months of the year production results, because at the end of this month, we're going to be 6 months in. So it's June the 20th. You should have a pretty good idea of where your business sits today based on your active listings, your pendings and sales. So you could complete this plan this coming weekend because you know what you're going to end up with, right? You know whether you're going to have a closing between now and the end of the year. It would already be scheduled, right, Nick? I mean, you'd already have a closing on the books. So you should do this plan. By the way, we've assigned it to our team that they have to have it complete by the end of the month because starting July 1, we're operating from a new plan. So having said that, the business plan that you put together to start the year off, I am absolutely totally fine with you taking that and tossing it in the trash because this is your opportunity to wipe the slate clean. Now, for those of you that are great clients of ours, for our agents that are in the room that use our business plan, or for those of you that just attended the business planning workshop back at the end of 2022, before you toss it in the trash, I still need you to find it. I need you to go get your hands on that because as you're completing this plan, you're going to find things, and it's okay, we all do this, you're going to find things that you committed to that you haven't even gotten a chance to research or dig into. And so there might be some great ideas or some thoughts that you had as you were completing that plan that will help you when you go back and complete this one. So let's start with part one so far this year. Starting with the first line at the top, total contacts. This is the one that gets probably overlooked the most because most agents don't actually track their contacts. Now, what we recommend you use is a daily log sheet to track them. And so all of our great clients either use this or have access to it. If you could get that up on the screen, I see it here as the next slide. Okay, that's what the daily contact log sheet looks like. And let's just keep that up for a minute if you guys want to take pictures of it or whatever. If you're clients of ours, you guys all have access to this. Some of you I know use Sisu, which comes with your coaching, or you might buy the team package or whatever. And that's fine too. We use that, but we also have a lot of agents that prefer good old-fashioned piece of paper. By the way, this is what I prefer. Because as I'm doing my prospecting, and just leave this up for a little bit because I'm going to walk you through it real quick. As I'm doing my prospecting, I'm checking things off as I go. So I have no distractions with my cell phone. I've got no distractions with anything else going on. I've got a notepad, a yellow pad, of when I generate leads and set appointments. So I can say 123 Banana Street tomorrow at 5, or 367 Orange Avenue, follow up tomorrow, right? So I have a yellow pad. This is what my prospecting station looks like. I got a yellow pad with all my notes for the appointment set and leads that I generate, and I got this to the right of it. And as I go, I'm checking things off, and by the end of the week, I have 6 of these. And I have 6 of these that I could tally up at the end of the 6 times 4. I can have 24 by the end of the month that I can tally up and actually look at the success or lack of success that I had that particular month. So you'll see there where it says attempts, all right? An attempt is actively trying to reach out to somebody. So for instance, if you are, let's say your goal is to make 20 contacts a day, just picking a number, you're probably going to have to make somewhere between 100 and 150 attempts to talk to 20 people per day, depending on what source you work. Does that math work out, Ryan? You probably have to attempt to reach out to 100 to 150 people a day to get 20 contacts. So attempt is a reach out. By the way, if you send a mass email, if you send an email to 1,000 people, that's actually 1,000 attempts. That's why where it says additional attempts, you'd write in there, email blast -1,000, text message -50, whatever. Those are attempts. You're attempting to get people to respond to you. So as you go, all of your attempts. Now if you're using a dialer, right, if you're using a great dialer from either Vulcan 7 or Red X, they both have good dialers. We use those dialers, by the way. If you're using a dialer, well then when your dial session is over, you can just write it in there on that line. I attempted contact to 103 people. I got 18 contacts out of that, which will take us down to the next portion, which I'll explain. The results section on here would be appointments set, leads generated for sellers, appointments set, leads generated for buyers. Talk time. Talk time is important, and this is something that I recognized in myself when I was going through my journey of selling 102 homes my first year to my peak. Not everyone knows this. My best year was 227 transactions closed, just myself. Okay, our team did about 900 deals that year. I was 227 of those. Now, I had a showing agent. I had an executive assistant. I had an ISA, so it wasn't just me. But in terms of those appointments, you can imagine I was going on 4, 5, 6, 7 appointments a week. So talk time will help you be more efficient. When you say you want to prospect every day from 9 to 11, here's what most agents' schedule looks like. All right, yep, Jeff, I'm going to commit every day 9 to 11. Yep, all right, every day 9 to 11. First day, they're in at 8:50. All right, yep, I'm going to do this thing. Go get some coffee. We're out of creamer. Are you kidding me? Can somebody run to the store, run to Starbucks and grab some creamer? Oh, you know what? I'm the only one here. I'll volunteer to do that. Yeah, I'll go grab creamer for the office. Now it's 9:20. Oh, shoot. I got to get on the phones. Are you kidding me? Oh, my gosh, the internet's down. All right, I'm going to, the internet's down. Instead of using my cell phone, I'm just going to go home and say the internet's down, and I'll make sure to email somebody and let them know so they get that fixed. I'll prospect from home. Yeah, I can do this from home. I got Wi-Fi at home. Instead of staying back and using my cell phone, you get home at 10 o'clock, you get some distractions, you get about 20 minutes in. Yeah, Jeff, I did 9 to 11, but we had some issues at the office yesterday. I got my calls in. I got probably 6 or 7 people that talked to me. That's not what prospecting looks like from 9 to 11. Prospecting from 9 to 11 means you're actually in your station, ready to go. In my case, a yellow pad on the left, this contact log sheet on the right, in their station, ready to go at 8:45. And you hit go at 8:59. In my case, I always started at 8 a.m., so I'd hit go at 7:59. And you go for 60 minutes, 75 minutes. My recommendation is usually about 60 to 75 minutes before you take a 5 to 10 minute break, and then you get back after it. Well, every time you take a break, you're going to put start, end, and then total. So if I start at 9 o'clock and I take a break at 10:15, well, that's 75 minutes. So I'd write a 75 in there. And then if I get back at it at 10:30 and I go to 11, that's 30 minutes. So start time 10:30, end 11, 30 minutes. Why is it important to know this? Because this is where you can figure out your contacts per hour ratio. And if you know your contacts per hour ratio, well, from there, guess what can happen? Now I can figure out how much time you actually have to put in to lead generation to hit your closing goal. We'll get to that in a second. Beneath that, where it says FSBOs, expireds, database, lead follow-up, the JS stands for just listed, just sold, also known as circle prospecting. And then a blank line would be whatever else. It could be online leads. It could be, any source you work, open house leads, whatever, pay-per-click leads, whatever leads you work would be on that blank line there. That's where the contacts go. So as I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm ticking off each contact. And then at the bottom there, add to database. Every day, I've got a goal, because I'm reminded to do it. Every day, I got a goal to add 3 people to my database. At a minimum, I'm adding 1, for sure, every day. Because even if I don't have a successful day, at the end of the year, if I've added just 1 person to my database, in about 250 working days, I'm going to have 250 people, new people that are going to know me, like me, trust me, that are added to the database that could refer me business later. So moving forward, you might want to consider using one of those. By the way, the definition of a contact, if you're not familiar, is a response from a decision-making adult. A response from a decision. So the response could be, yeah, when can you come out? Or it could be, go fly a kite. Either one of those is a response, and that counts as a contact. A response from a decision-making adult. Now, Jeff, how do I figure out my average daily contacts? Well, if you're tracking them, you're going to know. You're going to take your total, divide it by how many days you work. But if you're not tracking them, what I would recommend, because most of you, especially if this is your first event, you're hearing this maybe for the first time. Hey, Jeff, I've always been told, like, contacts, I get it, but I've never really tracked them. So if you're not tracking them, here's what I recommend you do. Think about your typical day. Think about a standard Wednesday in the business. About how many people do you talk to on a typical day? Well, Jeff, I probably talk to, I don't know, 8 to 10 people a day. All right, well, why don't we be conservative and let's just go with 8. Okay, that sounds fine. Now, how many days per week do you work? Well, I work 5 days a week, sometimes 6. Well, let's go conservative and say you work 5. So 8 times 5 is 40. So that's 40 contacts a week times 4 weeks. That's 160 a month. Does that sound about right? Yeah, for sure, I hit that. Okay, good. Now cut that number in half. Well, why am I cutting that number in half? Because you all lie about your contacts per day, and we know this, okay? So whatever you think it is, just cut it in half. That's probably what it really is, all right? That's average daily contacts. Client events hosted. How many events have you had so far this year for your clients? Total database touches. How many times have you touched your database? You heard Kaleo up here yesterday. 68 times in a calendar year. They have 1 event. There's 4 touches. How many times did you reach out to your database? How many people did you add to your database? How many listing appointments did you set? How many did you meet with? How many did you sign? How many did you sell? How many actually closed? Because not every listing you sell closes. How many buyer appointments set? How many buyer appointments met? How many buyer offers signed? I don't want to know that they wrote 6 offers before they got 1 accepted. I just need to know how many buyers you met with to write the first offer. Well, why is that? Well, because if you tell me that your goal is to have 24 buyer offers written, meaning 24 buyers are going to commit to writing an offer with you, then I can help you develop a ratio. If you tell me, well, Jeff, next year I'd like to have 30 buyers write an offer with me. Great. If I know, because you're tracking your numbers, I can say, here's how many buyers you're going to have to meet. Here's how many buyer appointments you're going to have to set. Here's how many buyer appointments you're going to have to go on to get that many to write with you. You see, this is a little bit different than how most of us are used to conducting business, because most of us are used to what it has been the last 5 years. Just kind of show up and get in the way, right? You literally can just walk outside your front door. Someone's going to walk by looking to buy or sell. The last 5 years, that's what we got to experience. Well, that luck is running out, or it's out for some of us. Next, buyers sold, buyers closed, and your fallout rate. So I want to know, how many deals do you pend to close? And for most of you, you probably have a fallout rate of 10 to 15%. That seems to be pretty standard. We see some at 20%, meaning for every 5 deals you penned, only 4 make it to the closing table. That's actually not uncommon for newer agents in the business, or even when you first sign up for coaching, let's just say, a lot of agents are at 15 to 20% fallout. But then in a year or 2, they're down to 5 to 10% fallout. So we want to know what that is. Total units closed, total volume closed, and then total income paid. By the way, when you're done with all of this, you'll be able to determine some ratios for yourself. Now, I've taken some of the guesswork out for you, and I've looked at the ratios within our team over the last 10 years. And we put together a little cheat sheet for you. If we want to get that up on the screen, that's probably the next slide, the ratio slide. So there's the ratio slide. That is essentially the last 7-8 years of data that we have in agents that have been working with us closely. Now, some of you will look at this and will say, wait a minute, Jeff. A 5-year associate on the seller side is still only at 65%? How is that? I'm crushing like 90% appointments I go on, 90% of people sign with me. How is that? I don't want to go backwards. Well, that's mostly because a lot of people in the industry, including a lot of people in this room, only work with people you know. So if you haven't figured this out by now, we work with both, because there's 2 types of people in this world. You guys have seen this one before. There's people you know, and there's people you don't know. Which group is bigger? The people you don't know. Well, what happens is when you start to work with people you don't know, your conversion rates will actually go down. And that's okay. Why is that? Well, because it's competitive. Because you don't know them. So they're interviewing you, but they're interviewing multiple others. When I look at the percentage of our business, about 50% of it is new business. 50% of it is people we know. So therefore, if we're about half and half, people we know, people we don't know, when I'm talking about our internal business, you're going to have a little bit lower ratios, although most of you might look at these and say, well, that's actually pretty good. So when you're looking at where you fall, less than 2 years in the business, 2 to 5 years in the business, 5 to plus years in the business, this is what you should expect, or at least if you're under these numbers, there's your goals. That's how you get there. If you're above these numbers, then that means you've been tracking your numbers and probably following our system for some time. But this is a really good rule of thumb to follow, and I wanted to take some of the guesswork out of there for you so you could have that. My goal would be, if I'm working with you one-on-one or you're working with one of our coaches, you're going to know exactly what your numbers are. You're going to know I take 70% of the appointments I go on. 70% of buyers that I meet write an offer with me. You're going to know that. That's going to help you with business planning for each quarter or for the next year. All right, let's go to part 2, know your market. I want you to pay attention to specifically your year-over-year results. Know your market. Pay attention to your year-over-year results. So if we could get the market statistics up on the screen. So this is just a sampling of, and most of your MLSs have reports like these. Obviously we got a more national, global look from Dr. Yoon yesterday. But this is actually the Metro Detroit MLS. This is what our market looks like today. And so every month, we're going over these statistics with our team, and I would encourage you to do the same with your team or within your brokerage, and I'm sure most of your brokerages do this anyways. But then I want you to take it one step further. I want you to calculate, now we can figure out, what do I need to adjust? Well, watch this. If listings are down in the market, I'm just going to start with that one at the top. If listings are down in the market 14%, then if I didn't change a thing, I would take 14% less listings. If I just ride the wave of the market like most of us do, and that's okay, maybe you haven't been taught the other way or taught the Glover U way. If I just rode the market, I'm going to be down 14%. Well, what this tells me is if I want to do the same, which none of us are interested in doing the same, but if I wanted to do the same, then that means I need to take 15% more sellers. I need to set 15% more appointments. I need to go on 15% more appointments. I need to take 15% more listings to offset what's going on in the market if I want to do the same. Well, then we can have some fun with it and say, well, I don't want to do the same. I want to go from selling 100 homes to 130 homes. I want to increase my goal by 30%. Well, then now we can actually figure out, because you know your market's numbers, you can figure out, and you know your ratios, you can figure out exactly how many appointments you have to go on, how many contracts you have to sign, how many appointments you have to set, how many appointments you need to make in order to hit that. But if we're not paying attention to what's going on locally in our market, then I can't take into consideration the changes I need to make. We talked yesterday when I opened up the segment that this is the difference between the pro and the amateur. The amateur just shows up and kind of goes through with things and does okay in the last market especially. The pro is understanding. I'm not saying you're spending an entire Saturday studying this stuff, by the way. The pro is just understanding where we're at. By the way, something that's actually kind of interesting that stands out, just looking at this, new listings are down 14%, but inventory of homes for sale is only down 5%, which means there's actually, look at month supply of inventory. Month supply of inventory is actually up 14%. Why is that? A lower percentage of listings are selling. So I get it. You're all in different markets in the U.S. or Canada. By the way, you know what? We have some great Canadian friends here. Where are my friends from Canada? Where are you guys at? Okay. So I told them yesterday, a few of them in the elevator, I told them yesterday that when we get to a point where 10% of our audience is from Canada, that we will start incorporating some Canada stuff into our content. Because we have some great Canada clients who are one-on-ones, and so we know what you're dealing with. And so 10% of our audience from Canada, and we're going to start implementing it in the program. Does that sound good, guys? Yeah. Okay, good. Everyone from the U.S. is like, oh, are you kidding me? I'm going to skip that one. All right, I'm going to skip that session. We can do better stuff with our time. Okay, so now here's the deal, and let's keep these stats up for a second. You guys have heard me talk about how when your stats go up, when your stats come out, you should be finding some sort of reason to go live on social media to talk about your stats. You should find something in here. Now, what I see is days on market's increasing. Look at that, 42%. The inventory of homes for sale is only down 5%, which means if we have less listings coming on the market, but the inventory is actually, see that last little bar? Inventory of homes for sale actually went up from April to May. That means we're actually getting more choices for our buyers. And not every sector of the market is seeing this, because I know you're seeing a lot of multiple offer situations. But we're in a situation today where there's some price points that we're not in multiple offer situations, or we're able to negotiate concessions, or the sellers are open to receiving a contingent offer. Now, it's the hot spring market right now, so you haven't seen that a lot in the last 60 days. I get it. That's because of the time of year. But once things cool off, you'll probably start seeing that again, because most of you reported to us, and we saw it in our own market, that in January, February, March, and April, you were getting offers accepted below the asking price, or you were actually maybe getting some concessions. So when these results come out, I want you to think about how you could take something from your market stats and use it as a reason to go live on Facebook. So I'm not going to have you guys go live on Facebook right now, but I want to show you the first step. So when these come out, you know exactly what you need to do. So pick up your phones right now, open up your Facebook app. We're going to do this together. Open up your Facebook app, and the moment you're in Facebook, you see at the top what's on your mind. Okay, you're going to click on that. You're going to click on your live video. Don't worry, it's not going to go live. Okay, you're not going live or anything. You might have to put it in selfie mode to flip your camera around like so, and you're going to add a description. Now, your description should be something catchy. It should be something almost maybe a little alarming. Your description should be something that is designed to stop the scroll. The mistake a lot of you make is you give away your emails and you give away your social media posts in the first sentence or two. You're doing it backwards. If you follow our copywriting formula, you know we always start with a hook. You always start with a teaser. So in this particular case, let's just say, for instance, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, days on market's increasing, and month supply of inventory is increasing. That's something probably worth sharing with buyers to get them excited about buying right now. But I know they're all complaining about what's going on in the market because they're paying interest rates. So what would be a good hook? I got one. Betcha thought right now is not a good time to buy. There we go. Bet you thought right now is not a good time to buy. Okay, done. So I got my caption, which, yes, that creates curiosity, because the buyer's going to say, well, yeah, why would I want to pay 7% when I got a 3.5% mortgage? Yeah, you're right, it's not a good time to buy. That's why they're going to click on this. And so most of you are familiar with the formula. What's step one? You guys. We had 2,000 tour attendees. What's step one? Always start with the hook. Step two? Introduce yourself. Thank you. Step three? You guys, we got work to do. We got work to do. Alana, are you seeing this? Where's Alana at, our marketing director? She's going to be on stage this afternoon. We're going to have to cover this. Step three, supporting information. Thank you, Rusty. Step three, supporting information. Step four, testimonials or examples. Step five, call to action. Thank you. Call to action. Okay, here's what I have a confession. I am very concerned. This whole audience should have known those five. If you're out there doing videos and you're not following that, I'm telling you, you're not completely wasting your time, because you're probably still getting some good engagement. But this formula works. Watch, we're going to go live right now. Oh, it said my broadcast ended. We can't have that. You know, it did this to me a couple days ago when I was trying to announce the winners of who's going to be backstage with Ed. Gosh darn it. Hold on a second. Well, that's no fun. My wheel is just spinning. Here, let's try this again. Go live. Yeah, you want me to go live on your behalf? All right. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Okay. Betcha thought right now is not a good time to buy. Bet you thought right now is not a good time to buy. Okay, flip it around. Okay. We're about to go live. Hey guys, I bet you thought right now is not a great time to buy. With interest rates so high and people complaining about multiple offer situations, why would you even want to consider getting in the market? Hi, I'm Realtor Jeff Glover, and we're actually live from the Live Unreal Retreat in Traverse City. Let's hear it, everybody. We're live, and we're going through market stats, and what's important to know about the market stats is there's some silver lining for our buyers. In fact, right now, our month supply of inventory is actually going up. Our days on market is actually going up, which means it's a better time for buyers to get into the market than we've seen in a long time. Now, I know it's not fun to pay a higher interest rate, but if you can get a better deal on a house or get a seller to accept terms that they wouldn't have accepted 6 or 12 months ago, you might end up in a better situation. For instance, we had some buyers close just last week in Northville. They were able to negotiate $15,000 off of the items for the inspection and ended up paying just slightly under the asking price. These things are happening every day in our market, and if you're a buyer, don't worry about the interest rates. We're going to save you a few bucks on the home. For results like those and for the best deal on a property today, give me a call at 855-JEFF-SELLS or online at 855jeffsells.com. Let's go find you a property at a good price. We'll see you. Bye-bye. Okay. So, every month, okay, we'll post that out there. Every month, when the stats come out, I want you to find something. Now, I could have just went with days on market. Oh my gosh, guys, days on market's going up. What does that mean? That means it's a better environment for buyers. Month supply of inventory is going up. What does that mean? It's a better environment for buyers. Find something in the market stats. Now, that was to maybe capture a few buyers. But if I wanted to talk about sellers, hey, sellers, watch. Average sales price, don't worry about the days on market going up because average sales price is still has a nice little bump of 2.5%. So the good news is we might be at the peak. Now that's slowing down a little bit because last year at this time prices were up about 15%. So we might be kind of at a little bit of a crest here. So you have to, of course, take that information, think of a hook, always introduce yourself. You have to back up your hook with supporting info. It's better if you can give an example and then always close with a call to action. That's the formula every time you go live. And you have a reason to go live once a month because the stats come out once per month. Take advantage of that. We'll talk about that more this afternoon with Alana when we get there. All right, let's go to part 3, your second half goals. So I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time on this, but there's just a couple things I want to point out. Where it says new average contacts per day, I'm going to give you some advice. Based on what I know what's happening around the industry. If you want to keep doing the same amount of business, you would add 3 to 5 contacts to your current routine per day. If you want to keep doing the same. Now, most of you want to increase your business 20-25%. So since most of you want to increase your business by 20-25%, I'm going to suggest you add an additional 6 to 8 contacts per day. So if you're averaging 10, and you want to increase your business in this new market, we got to figure out how to get you to 16, 17, or 18. If you're averaging 5 or 6, you're going to have to figure out how to get to 10, 11, 12. So you're adding 3 to 5 contacts if you just want to do the same, consciously. 3 to 5 contacts. Watch, if you do 4 more per day times 6 working days, that's 24 more per week. That's about 100 more per month. 100 more contacts per month will make up any deficit of what's going on in the market right now. But that's just if you want to do the same. If you want to do more, you're going to have to increase it by 6, 7, 8 contacts per day. So if you're averaging 20 contacts per day right now, which I know a lot of our top producers are, you all know, especially those of you that coach with us, you know you need to be at 25 to 28 right now if you want to do more. So above all, we have to look at how many people that we're talking to per day and just bump that number up a bit. And I gave you the number if you want to do the same and if you want to have an increase. So part 2 is basically all those categories that we covered in part 1. And I'm going to take a look at, all right, where I'm at. I said I want to do 40 deals this year. I only have 10. I said I wanted to do 40. I only have 10. Maybe it's not likely that I'm still going to hit 40, but you know what? I'd feel really good if I hit 30. Awesome. So let's adjust the goal up or down based on where you're at right now. My recommendation to you, by the way, rule of thumb I followed for years. If you're substantially below your goal, I want you to adjust your goal down. I'm okay with that. I'm giving you permission to do so. Because at the end of the day, I want you to have something to work for every single day that's realistic. There's no sense in having a business plan that's not realistic. You're actually less likely to work from it. So if you're substantially down, I'm giving you permission to adjust your goal down just a bit. If you're at a point to where you're on pace for your goal, I'm going to suggest you actually increase it. Because what happens is when we're on pace for our goal, we subconsciously kind of let our foot off the gas a little bit. I'm doing pretty good. My goal was this, I'm here. I'm going to take a few extra vacations this summer. And by the way, you all deserve to be able to vacation. The problem is that you subconsciously let your foot off the gas, and almost in every case, hear me loud and clear on this, agents that are on track with their goal at the midway point, in almost every case, agents who are on track for their goal at the midway point end up falling short by the end of the year. And that's because in the summer months, because you're on pace, you just kind of subconsciously let your foot off the gas just a little bit, and it ends up showing up 2 or 3 months later. Now, there's one group in this room that is having a better year, or a better than what you projected, or better than what you planned on. Now that group, you have permission, in my opinion, keep your goal exactly where it's at. You can increase it if you want, but you get to keep your goal exactly where it's at because you're actually ahead of schedule. And you know what? Go ahead and schedule an extra vacation this summer. Take some extra time off because you have a little bit of a buffer in there. You're ahead of your goal. But if you're on pace, hear me loud and clear on this, don't be celebrating it. There's no need to celebrate doing what we said we were going to do. You celebrate when you exceed what you said you were going to do. If you're on pace, increase them. You'll thank me later for that one because you'll actually end up hitting your goals at the end of the year by increasing it slightly. Okay, let's go to part 4. Part 4 in the business plan. What is the source of business that you said you were going to double down on in 2023 that you have yet to do so? And what specifically can you do to double down the second half of the year? Most of you guys are familiar with our double down formula. I'm going to have you write it down again real quick. Just somewhere on the plan or in your notes, I want you to write the word time. I want you to write the word resources. And I want you to write the word skills. Time, resources, skills. So what I want everyone to do in this section is look at a source of business that you're experiencing some success with. And I want you to ask yourself this question. Write this down, please. Honestly, write it down, honestly, ... Honestly, ... Am I exhausting? Honestly, ... Am I exhausting all options of getting business from this source? Honestly, am I exhausting all options of getting business from this source? And then you look at, by the way, the answer is usually no, because here's why. There's somebody else out there that's doing the same or better. There's somebody else out there that's winning with that source of business in a different way or using different techniques. So when I think back to my basic example when I first started, I'll just use time as a for instance. I was spending about an hour and a half a day just regular calling of expireds, just one after another, hand dialing. I didn't even have a dialer. Dialers didn't even really exist then. So I'm just one by one calling. And then I thought to myself, while I'm making calls, what if I put an hour on the days that I don't have appointments? What if I put an hour out at the doors? What if I put an hour going and seeing these people that aren't answering their phones? So I added an hour. That would be an example of doubling down on time. Now, time is hard work. And so when you look at the 3 ways we can double down, that actually is the one that gets left off the most. Well, I didn't say I wanted to work harder, Jeff. I just wanted to work smarter. I wanted to work differently. Yeah, but if you knew that you could add an additional 10, 15, 20 listings to your production each year because you decided on the days you don't have appointments to go out and get in front of some, would it be worth it? Yeah, I guess so. What would you do with the extra money from 20 transactions? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. By the way, as just a rule of thumb, I want you to kind of make a side note on this, and this is my recommendations, or quite honestly, it's a request. Watch this, okay. And before I give the request, I need to do a quick assessment. If you're in this room and you want to make more money in the second half of 2023 than the first half, say aye, nice and loud. You want to make more money? Okay, good. So that was most of you. So here's my solution. It's proven. It works. Now, you all said aye. Are you willing to do the work that it takes? Yes. Okay, so now we lost about 40%. Are you willing to do the work that it takes? Yes. Okay, we're back up to 90. Thank you. If you want to take an additional 15, 20, 25 listings between now and the end of the year, here's what you have to do. It's an ism that we've used for a long time. You guys probably remember. It was one of the first recommendations of a coach that I had. And it was a penalty because he knew how much I hated door knocking. I mean, I can't stand door knocking. Anyone besides me just kind of despise door knocking? Oh, come on, Traverse City. Seriously? All right. This afternoon, here's the deal. We're going to change the schedule. Alana, we're going to use your time for this. We're going to go door knock the golf course. You guys cool with that? Some of you weird ones are. I know. I see you. Okay. So my coach said, Jeff, here's the deal. You've got a door knock if you don't have an appointment to go on. That's the deal. You got to go spend 1 hour at the doors if you don't have an appointment to go on. That's how I went from selling 102 homes in 2008 to 150 in 2009. That's all I changed. I implemented that policy of just, if I don't have an appointment to go on today, I'm going to go out in the streets. And so you all said you want to make more money. You all said you're willing to put in a little bit more time. Here's my recommendation to you. If I'm coaching you one-on-one right now, this would be an absolute non-negotiable. And that is this. Every day you don't have an appointment, and I'm only going to make you do this 5 days a week, not 6 or 7. Every day you don't have an appointment. Well, first of all, you're suiting up for an appointment every day because you dress for what you want, not for what you have. Every day you approach the day as if you're going to get in front of a buyer or a seller. If it's a work day, I'm going to go see a seller or I'm going to go see a buyer. Can we agree that we dress for what we want? Yes. Okay, so since we're going to show up dressed for what we want, if I don't have an appointment, I don't want to waste the $16 in dry cleaning. I want to go get some use out on the street. So if I'm coaching you one-on-one right now, here's my request. For every day you don't have an appointment to go on, by the way, this is the same thing I did. My very first coach, same recommendation he gave me. You're spending 1 hour a day out in the field doing this. 1 hour. Every day you don't have an appointment to go on. If you say you want to make more money and you say you're willing to put in a little bit more time, watch. If the reason how I got over it, essentially I did the math on the listings and the sales and the commission, so that helped. But how I also thought about it is, wait a minute, if I'm supposed to go on an appointment every single day, because that was the number, we figured out I had to go on 5 a week in order to sell 100 houses, by the way. If I'm going to go on an appointment every single day, and I don't have one to go on, what else? I had already in my schedule from 4:30 to 6:30, if you saw my original schedule for several years, 4:30 to 6:30, it just said appointments or door knocking. If I didn't have an appointment, I used that time to go door knock. I'm not asking for 2 hours, by the way. I'm only asking for 1. By the way, the best time of the day to door knock, 3:30 to 5. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the most effective days. I mean, I've knocked on thousands of doors. I can tell you which days you're going to have the most opens, which days people are most friendly. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 3:30 to 5. You want to catch them before they've started dinner. A lot of times between that time, there's only one party home, and that's okay. You're just looking to have a conversation. You're not necessarily looking to get invited in. But if you wanted to add 15 to 20 listings to your production this year, and you were one of the ones that said, yes, I want to make more money, I want to have more production, why wouldn't you do that? We're supposed to be on an appointment every single day anyways. You have tons of options. Expireds for sale by owners, circle prospecting, just listed around a listing that just went on the market, just sold, hybrid farming, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Why not? Why aren't we doing it? Can anyone tell me why we're not doing it? If you have it in your schedule to go on an appointment every day at 4:30, and you don't have an appointment to go on, what do you do during that time? What do you go home? You go to the happy hour? Wow, you know, Jeff, Real Producers is having this happy hour event. I got to get there. The low producers pick happy hours over door knocking. The weird ones go make contacts. The general population goes to happy hours. Don't be part of the general pop. 1 hour a day. That's all I'm asking for. If every single person in this room did this, by the end of the year, you would report to me an additional 15 to 20 transactions on 1 hour a day for the next 6 months, 5 days a week. There are going to be people in this room at the summit in January, which we're announcing where that is tomorrow, by the way. I know a lot of you guys think you know where it's at. Well, Jeff, we saw cactuses. We know it's in the desert somewhere. You'll see. 1 hour a day between now and the end of the year. If you don't have an appointment to go on, what else do you have to do? Seriously. That's the ism. Follow it. Sorry, I got my soapbox there a little bit. Time. That's time. Resources is money, spend. Resources is money and spend, meaning you're throwing resources at something, which is still effective. You know, I use the example, if you're having success with Zillow and the math works out, double down on it. If the math works out, do it. By the way, when you're looking at your results from online leads, you shouldn't look at what you spent versus what you got in a calendar year. How we look at it in our business, every transaction we have with Zillow or Realtor.com, a lead that we paid a boatload of ridiculous amount of money for, which it's like highway robbery what they charge for leads today, but here's the deal. You don't do the math on spend versus immediate ROI. Every transaction we have from Zillow, we times that by 3. Because on average, we look at every client in their lifetime, we're going to have 3 transactions from them, either with them or from their referrals. So now do the math on your Zillow spend versus that ROI. If you times your GCI times 3, because you don't have to pay Zillow again for that lead. You only paid for the first time. So it's not fair to hold them accountable for the spend. By the way, I'm not paid by Zillow to say this. I'm not endorsed by any of them to say this. I'm just saying this is business planning. This is real math. You take your GCI, you times it by 3, you go back to your cost per lead, you look at what you're spending per month, and you see if that math checks out. In most cases, it does, by the way. That would be doubling down on resources. And then finally, the last thing would be doubling down on skills. Doubling down on your skills, your sales skills, your presentation skills. A lot of great salespeople recognize that if they want to list and sell more homes, they actually have to be great presenters. So we had a ton of people that attended the lead-up event. Now, they're high producers, and they also have teams or brokerages that they run. And what do we teach at lead-up? We teach them how to speak. We teach them how to train. We teach them how to present. I was very fortunate in 2004, there was a gentleman by the name of Floyd Wickman, who's from Detroit, Michigan, one of the original mentors of mine, even before I met Kathy and Paul. He always had a speaking and training course every year that he brought to Detroit. And every year I took it. Why? Now, I had a feeling I'd be doing this one day. I saw that at that time, but more importantly, I wasn't thinking about this. I was thinking about going out and presenting to a seller and having the most professional, polished presentation. Because I knew if I'm young, I'm going out on appointments at 21, 22, 23 years old. My biggest fear, by the way, I had 2 fears at that age, selling 100 homes before I started selling 100 houses. 2 biggest fears. How long you been doing this? How old are you? How long you been doing this? How old are you? So do you know how I overcompensated for that? I got real good at presenting. It was dialed in. Scripts, forwards, backwards, writing out scripts, chanting scripts, role-playing scripts. I got it dialed in, down to a science. Every single objection. I mean, heck, you know we do Stump the Chump tomorrow on Wednesday. Throw anything you want, I got a script for it. Put them in the box out there on the break. I got an answer for it. Why? Because I've heard it hundreds or thousands of times. I focused on my presentation skills. So when you're looking at something to double down on, I would recommend that's an area you do so. There's a reason why in our mastery courses, or at least in listing mastery, you record your listing presentation, you submit it, and you get feedback back. Why? Because I want to make you a better presenter. Because if you're a better presenter, then you'll have more confidence to go out and set more appointments. And if you have more confidence to go out and set more appointments, you'll put more time in on the phone. There's a direct correlation between your presentation skills and your confidence and results on the phone. There's a direct correlation. The better you are a presenter, the better you'll be on the phone. The better you are a presenter, the better you'll be responding to text messages. The better you are as a presenter, the better you'll be at responding to emails. Why? Because you'll actually be excited to get out there and get rejected. You'll actually be excited to get out there and handle every single objection under the sun, because if they give you objections, that means they're considering working with you. The better the presentation, the better your results will be on the phone. There's a direct correlation between those two. So if I'm looking at what I could double down on my skills, I would consider, if I'm coaching you right now, I want to see your buyer presentation. Record it. Have somebody come into the office, set up a camera, record it. Watch it back. Now, when you watch it back, I'd make a recommendation. You might want to do this like at midnight when the whole house is asleep and you're by yourself down in the basement and nobody's watching it with you because it's going to be a little embarrassing, first time anyways. And you go back and you see, what could I do better? You recognize where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are in your presentation. You actually document them. Now, you guys have been hearing this stuff for years. Some of our best clients, we've been telling you to do this, but you don't. Well, if you want to win in the next market, you might want to start taking us up on these suggestions.